Hi and welcome to LabVIEW Advantage. In this video, we'll be presenting the Introduction to XControls video that was conducted during the first Indian LabVIEW users group meeting. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm a certified LabVIEW architect, LabVIEW champion, and LabVIEW training and certification expert. I've been able to produce 140 CLDs and a CLA. So about Graphitex, we have been founded generally to meet the requirements for the LabVIEW users to gain CLD and CLA certifications. The following presentation is an excerpt from the CLA preparation training that is conducted by Graphitex. Today's agenda, we have got the following list. We'll start with the user interface, then native LabVIEW UIs, and then we'll discuss about the custom controls and its limitations. Then we'll introduce the XControls and then so on. So let us begin. Every application has got a user interface for the user to interact with an application. You can see the different examples as shown in the diagram. Now when you open the LabVIEW environment in the front panel, you will have options for many native UI elements. They are already present in the LabVIEW environment. This means you don't need to separately program to build your user interface elements. The advantages are you don't need to redesign, you can modify the controls, and if it is missing, you can also add from the LabVIEW tools network. But the limitation of the native UI elements is there are limited UI elements and you need to do the additional programming every time you will be using the control. It has a lack of modularity, and then we'll be discussing what we mean by that in the following sections. In LabVIEW, an array and clusters type and strict type def controls are considered as a custom controls. The pros of the custom controls are they are scalable in appearance, but they are not modular with custom functionality. So we'll now discuss about the modularity in the context of the custom controls. So modularity does not only means the sub-VIs, but modularity is something that aids the reusability of your code. In block diagram, we can create a sub-VI out of the sub-VI to create modularity, but it is not possible in the front panel because the native UI or the add-on UI is going to expose the code. As you can see in the diagram, I've got 3 clusters into the left hand side and 3 sliders onto the right hand side. As you can see, the code is being repeated, but each time I'll be using the cluster, I need to rewrite the entire code again. This is not modularity. Now we'll be introducing the XControls. So XControl is a front panel object that allows the custom appearance and custom functionality. It is highly modular and it actually encapsulates the functionality inside the object. That basically means whenever I move or copy my control, the functionality actually moves with it. The XControl has a library which has got 4 abilities to begin with. It can have 6 abilities at max, and the abilities are a combination of the type def controls and the sub-VIs. As you can see on the right hand side, we have a LabVIEW project on which we got the XControl object which contains the data, state, facade, and init. We'll discuss in more detail. The state of a XControl is a type-defined cluster to control the appearance and behavior of the object. And the different states can be whether the control is in the control instance, indicator instance, or visible instance. As you know, we'll be discussing that XControl can actually have different appearances for both the indicator and control. Now if we look into the facade part. So facade is actually a VI, which is actually the appearance of the XControls in the front panel. It contains the entire code to handle the user event of all the user elements in your facade front panel. In the diagram, the cluster is actually now my facade front panel, and then the user event code comes with the library, and that is basically our user event to handle the functionality of my XControl. The init is not that important. It's you can go through that on your own. This is basically to handle the version control of the XControl to avoid the confusion between the developers. Finally, the data is the most important part. For example, your cluster or your XControl can have many user interfaces, but data is basically the output you are expecting to be coming from your XControl. So now let's start with the demo of the XControls. First of all, let's look into the code that does not use the XControl. As you can see, I've got 3 clusters into the left hand side and 3 indicators on the right hand side. And in the block diagram, the same code, but as you can see, I've got like a 3 repeatable codes. Each time if I don't use the XControl, I need to rewrite the entire code again. So this is a particular case on which we can implement XControl. Now the cluster is going to be part of my facade. The slider value, that is in this case, I believe it's U8, that is going to be my data. And the slide is also going to be my indicator appearance. So since this video is pretty long, we'll complete up to the user interface or the facade creation in this part, and we'll complete the XControl in the next video. So here we'll start with the project, and to use XControl you need to have the LabVIEW professional development environment. Now I'm going to save the project first of all. I'll name it XControl demo and create a folder as well. First of all, it is always a best practice to place your respective VI or controls inside the particular folder so that it will be easier for you to navigate in the future. Now I'm going to create an XControl. Right click. As you can see, the XControl has got 4 abilities called data, facade, state and init. So I'm going to save this one as well inside my XControls folder. So I need to save 5 files, 4 abilities and then the XControl. If you right click and go to the new ability, as you can see there are other options as well. 4 of them are selected. These are the mandatory abilities and there are 2 different optional abilities as well. You can explore what they do on your own. Now we are going to work with the facade. First of all, facade, as we discussed, is going to be the front panel of my XControl, which the user or the customer is going to face. So I'm just going to get a copy from my previous VI. So this is going to be my front panel. This is actually going to be my front panel of my control rather than the indicator. As we discussed, the XControl can have different user interface for control and indicator. Now the next thing what we're going to do is slider. We are going to check the data type. First of all, as you can see, it's the U8. As you can see, by default the XControl data is actually double. So I'm going to open the data control and then change that to U8, and I need to save this. This is a typed F. So when I close and save it, as you can see, the data type in my facade has also changed. Now the next thing is we need to modify the front panel of my facade for the indicator side. The indicator is going to be the slider. So what we're going to do is in my facade front panel, I'm going to drag the output because my indicator has to look like that one. So if I drag it inside, the slider will become a part of a cluster. So just overlap for now. We'll continue this demo in the next video. We are also promoting the yoga tools from Sadhguru. This is the free app available from the Isha Foundation. You can download this app free from App Store or the Google Play Store. It is free, and there are 7 practices for the improvement of your health, success, well-being, peace, joy, inner exploration and love. I hope you like this video. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel for future LabVIEW videos.